Hi everyone, Dr. Suneel Dhand. Why do women always do this? What am I talking about? That seems like a bit of a provocative title and introduction to this video, but I'm going to explain. I recently saw a post on social media that really absolutely resonated with me as a doctor, and I would like to know afterwards what you think of this statement and why it is a recurrent theme in healthcare. Okay, here we go. I've got it written down here. This is what was posted on social media. How come women never show up in the ER, that's the emergency room, saying, "My husband made me come in"? Okay, so why did this resonate with me? And I'm going to go over a few theories I have about why this happens so often. I've been a doctor for a few years, and I cannot tell you the number of times that I have seen a male come into the emergency room, often with quite a serious underlying condition, and I'll get to the conditions in a little bit that I most commonly see as a doctor come into the emergency room. But the amount of times that I hear a male say, "I didn't want to come in and my wife made me come in," and it turns out to be something really serious. I have never, in all my years of being a doctor, heard it the other way round. I've never heard a woman say, as was alluded to in this post, "My husband made me come in." So that got me thinking as to why this is the case, why so often, and I'm sure many other doctors have experienced the same thing. The male coming into the emergency room with what is often a serious complaint and saying that their wife made them come in. So I've written down a few hypotheses here about why this could be the case. And then, as I said, I'd be interested to know what you think as well. So here we go. The first one I wrote down, and remember we have to consider all possibilities here, that women are simply smarter than men. Okay, I'm a male. I will admit that sometimes it's the truth. Women appear to be smarter than men in certain areas. So could it be that the female of the species is more in tune with what could be serious and knows when help should be sought out? That's the first possibility. Second possibility, number 2 here. Females have a natural maternal instinct and they want people who are suffering or potentially have a problem, could be anyone, but obviously it would be more with a family member like their husband. They want something to be addressed if something is wrong. That's a natural maternal instinct. Okay, that's another possibility. Number 3 here, women actually tend to worry more than men. Women can worry about certain things going wrong and want something to be caught early on because they might be more worried than the male. Another possibility right there. Okay, number 4 here. This is on the men. So men tend to negate symptoms. They pass it off. "Oh, I just moved in the wrong way. That's why I have this twinge of pain." Or perhaps men deal with fear a little bit differently from women. Men tend to ignore things. They want to pretend that nothing is wrong, or I wouldn't say pretend, but they want to put on a front of being brave. They don't want to seek help, and they will only go to the doctor as a last resort because inside they could actually be afraid that something is wrong. So putting up that brave front is kind of a show. That's another possibility. So I'm going to throw it out there. And in terms of my own thoughts as a doctor, so I have seen all sorts of conditions over the years, ranging from those that are very minor, where I hear that the male was forced by their wife to come into the hospital, or more serious. And this is what I would like to touch on. And this is really the learning point, and obviously particularly directed at men. There are certain symptoms that should never be ignored. Now, I would say the most common symptom where I've seen this particular scenario apply is for cardiac conditions, heart conditions. So males will experience a twinge or more than a twinge of chest pain on exertion. They will notice that they have chest heaviness when they exert themselves, when they're walking fast, when they are climbing upstairs. Perhaps they also get more short of breath, and it kind of builds up, and their wife will notice it, and they will be encouraging them to seek help. And sadly, by the time I've often seen men come into the emergency room and then get admitted to the medical team, it's when they've already had a cardiac event. And thankfully, most of the time nowadays, we can rescue them from this situation where they come in with a troponin elevation. That's a blood marker that we look for. That means that their heart is under significant stress and they're having what we know as a heart attack. That would be the most common condition. But I have to say, and this happened to me recently a few times, I've encountered situations where something more serious has happened, and it's typically a man who's over the age of 50 years old, and the ones I can think of is where they've experienced a pain, say in their back or another part of their body, their abdomen or pelvis, and they've noticed that the pain has been escalating for some time, and their wife has really been encouraging them to seek help. And sadly, and I would say it's a regular occurrence when I work in the hospital to see a patient admitted, but this is a learning point that I would like to impart, especially above a certain age. You want to nip a problem in the bud. So let me give you an example that I saw recently. Someone was experiencing some back pain and they kept ignoring it for months and months, and sadly the pain was escalating, and then when they came into the emergency room they had a CT scan. And the scan sadly showed widespread malignancy, so metastatic lesions that had spread to different parts of the abdomen and chest. We weren't sure where the primary cancer was. But that would be a more quote-unquote extreme example, but it's not uncommon to see that. And my take-home message is this, whether you're a male or a female, but obviously this is more directed at men, is you know your own body. If you have an unusual symptoms, particularly above a certain age, please get it checked out early. Now, I'm the first one to be very skeptical of healthcare, of hospitals, of organized medicine. But the truth is that there are some problems, like if you have a budding heart issue, or perhaps you have something more serious like a malignancy, where obviously common sense tells you that it's better to nip something in the bud rather than show up in the emergency room later when you have a more serious complaint. But it's not uncommon. Ask any doctor for us to hear a male coming in with a horrible diagnosis. They have a scan and they've got these widespread lesions, but they've had something that's been building up for a long time, and their wife usually has been telling them to come into the hospital, but they've been ignoring it, thinking that it's nothing at all. So getting back to this statement then, which I thought was excellent. How come women never show up in the emergency room saying, my husband made me do that? Maybe there are some women for whom that's the case. I haven't seen it in my career, but I have seen thousands of men come in with serious conditions who tell me that their wife made them come in. So what do you think? What is the reason for that discrepancy between males and females? I've outlined a few possibilities, but please let me know down below. And remember, the take-home message of this video is if you have a serious complaint, especially if you're a male who is possibly at a point in life where you could have something more serious develop, or you have some underlying risk factors, then please get help as soon as possible. Thanks everyone for watching. Dr. Suneel Dhand. Do check out the links in the description down below for my website, all the other work I do, and our natural supplement store, ohighwellness.com if you're in the USA, North America. If you're in the UK or Europe, ohighwellness.co. Hit the like button if you like this video, and the subscribe button for more similar videos in the future. And do share with anyone else who you think may benefit from this video and this message. We will speak again in the next video.